Other times that there is resistance is when we cause it ourselves. The braking process. Again, it's very common and very easy to start to over-rotate as you brake. The bike slows down, particularly if you're panic braking. You go past the bike point unexpectedly, your weight will flip forwards. Your hips will overtake your feet and your legs are now taken out of the equation in terms of driving the bike. Your mass is rotating forward and up and over the bike, not down and through. But again, as we brake, if we keep our cranks relatively level and drop our heels and sink our mass in, my dropped heel will keep my hips behind my foot, and therefore my legs can push into the resistance and resist the momentum and the gravity that's all trying to pull me forward. The harder I brake, the more force is trying to push me forward, the more force I can push down through my feet, dropping my heels and making sure my mass stays where I want it and not where nature is trying to throw it. By dropping those heels, and even maybe for some people that looks like he's exaggerating things, it ensures that your mass plays a far bigger part in the braking process. Not only can Josh keep his hips behind his heels and his mass pushing into the bike, he can start to drop down and actually become heavier for a moment, increasing the braking force and making the back brake and back time more effective. We'll look at that once more and see how Josh's cranks don't rotate, but it's all about dropping those heels in and pushing energy down and through the bike. It's important not to confuse good footwork and heel drop with riding defensively and riding slowly effectively. Here we're going to look at a little change in gradient where we can see as Josh rides through by dropping the heels, he's just got much more control over what's happening with the body mass. So it's not slumping to a position driven there by the changing gradient, but he's keeping a control on it, a check on it by keeping his heels dropped and pushing into them. A little bit like an anchor man in a tug of war. They're going to stand there up on their tiptoes hoping to stop any force, dropping those heels in as the gradient changes, dropping them in further, giving him much more control. One, at a rolling speed, at a relatively good speed, and secondly, should you decide to descend it in with a bit more speed control going on, using the brakes and controlling his rate of acceleration more. So even though Josh wasn't riding that in any way defensively in terms of braking hard, there was still a need as the gradient changed in order to keep his body position vis-a-vis the sky the same as the bike pitched forward and allow the bike to rotate. The heel drop was one of the crucial factors there in maintaining his good body position. Now we'll look at him creeping down there in a far more defensive manner perhaps, and we'll see even more with the braking. Not only is there gravity trying to pull him down, there's momentum trying to push him down, and therefore the heel drop again plays a massive part, and good footwork equates to good riding. So just as a heel drop is important, as we've seen from earlier shots, controlling the body position and keeping your mass where you want it, heel drop also helps when it comes to driving the bike through pumping. And it's really crucial to understand rotating mass and how that can drive the bike and push the bike through sections and accelerate the bike through particular sections that we want to create speed through. Now that could be a pump and a shallow dip in the trail. It could be as we approach the lip of a jump and we want to push energy into the bike through the bike and extend through the jump. Or it could be creating a manual. Rather than just pushing up with the arms and shoulders back, we want to get the whole hips back. Dropping those heels and pushing through drives your mass back, but also the bike forward. And therefore that rotating mass creates power. So although undoubtedly the arms play a part in the process of pumping the trail, more strength and more often is the legs doing the work and creating more of the power. So as we roll through this small section here, if I just pump down into the bike on flat feet, I'm not going to get the same level of drive as if I pump and drop my heels through and use my mass to create extra speed. So although only a small undulation in the trail, we can pump that transition, the downside and the upside, but by dropping my mass into the bike and dropping the heel, the downforce and the pump accelerates the bike much more effectively and efficiently than just bouncing on my toes or even flat-footed. It's not all about heel drop, there is also levelling off the feet to allow the bike to rotate back forward and the mass to centre up back on the bike. So we see as Josh pumps through here, rather than just pumping down into it, he's going to manual through. Now the manual will cause the front wheel to lift, dropping the heel, pushing energy through the bike, but as he wants the front wheel to drop, you'll see his toes level off, and that will recenter his weight slightly and drop the front end over the other side. So sometimes it's a case of heel, toe, heel, rather than just heels down all the time. Okay. So having used push through technique and heel drop to drive the bike, get the front wheel light, manual through the small dip, as his back wheel hit the lip of the second bump, his toes levelled off and down came the front wheel. Same technique is going to be applied in jumps, which we will look at briefly a little later, and much more so when we cover jumps in a future issue. But for now, appreciate heel drop isn't everything, but good footwork includes not only dropping the heel to position the weight backwards, but dropping the toe to bring the weight forward and centre it up, allowing the bike to pivot back down and forwards.